Knowledge time, JustProfessor here. You learned about biases, and now you see them everywhere except in yourself. You read about cognitive errors. You watched videos on fallacies. You learned about all the ways people think irrationally. And now you feel superior. You see others making emotional decisions and you think they are foolish. You see people falling for obvious tricks and you think they are gullible. You see someone believing something you disagree with and you immediately diagnose them with a bias. Confirmation bias, Dunning-Kruger, motivated reasoning. You have the labels, you have the knowledge, and you use it like a weapon. To prove others wrong, to dismiss their arguments, to feel smarter than everyone around you. But here's what you do not see. You are not being more rational, you are just being arrogant. You learn the language of rationality, but you never learn to apply it to yourself. And that makes you worse than the people you are judging. This is called misapplied rationality. And it is turning your knowledge into ignorance. Here is how it works. When you learn about biases, your brain does something clever. It recognizes those biases in others. You see someone defending a bad argument and you think confirmation bias. You see someone overestimate their abilities and you think Dunning-Kruger. You see patterns everywhere, and it feels good. It feels like you cracked the code. Like you can see through the fog that blinds everyone else. But your brain does not apply that same lens to yourself. It only points outward. So you become an expert at spotting irrationality in others while remaining completely blind to your own. This is why misapplied rationality is so dangerous. It does not make you smarter. It makes you insufferable. You use rationality as a tool to win arguments instead of a tool to find truth. You use knowledge of biases to dismiss people instead of to understand them. Use logic as a shield to protect your own beliefs instead of a mirror to examine them. And you think you are being rational, but you are not. You are just being selfish with your knowledge. Most people who learn about biases think it will make them less biased. But it does not. Studies show that learning about cognitive biases does not reduce them. It just gives you new ways to see them in others. You become better at labeling other people's errors, but you do not become better at catching your own. And that gap between what you see in others and what you miss in yourself is what makes misapplied rationality so toxic. Think about what happens when you argue with someone. You disagree with their position. And instead of engaging with their actual point, you start labeling their thinking. You say they are using emotional reasoning. You say they are cherry-picking evidence. You say they are stuck in their echo chamber. And you think you won. You think you dismantled their argument, but you did not. You just avoided engaging with it. You used your knowledge of biases as a shortcut. A way to dismiss them without actually thinking about what they said, and that is not rationality. That is laziness disguised as intelligence. Now compare that to how you handle your own beliefs. When someone challenges you, do you immediately check yourself for biases? Do you ask if you are being emotional? Do you wonder if you are cherry-picking? Do you question if you are in your own echo chamber? No, you do not. You defend yourself. You justify your position. You find reasons why your thinking is sound. And when someone points out a flaw, you do not see it as a bias. You see it as them misunderstanding you. That is the double standard. You apply rational scrutiny to everyone else, but not to yourself. This is what misapplied rationality does. It gives you a toolkit for criticizing others while protecting you from self-criticism. It makes you feel like an expert without making you actually improve. It turns knowledge into ego. And ego is the opposite of rationality. Think about how this shows up in your life. You see someone believe something you think is false. And instead of asking why they believe it, you just label them. They are a victim of cognitive dissonance. They are suffering from the backfire effect. They are trapped in groupthink. And by labeling them, you avoid understanding them. You avoid considering that maybe they have reasons. Maybe they have information you do not have. Maybe their perspective has value, but you do not explore that. You just dismiss them. Because your knowledge of biases gave you permission to stop thinking. Or you see someone make a decision you disagree with, and you immediately diagnose them. They are exhibiting loss aversion. They are falling for the sunk cost fallacy. They are showing recency bias, and you feel smart. You feel like you figured them out, but you did not. You just slapped a label on them and called it analysis. Real understanding would require digging deeper, would require asking questions, would require considering their context. But that takes effort, and labeling is easy. So you take the easy path and convince yourself it is the rational one. This is the trap. Misapplied rationality makes you think you are thinking when you are actually judging. It makes you confuse labeling with understanding. It makes you believe that knowing the names of biases is the same as overcoming them, but it is not. Knowing about a bias does not make you immune to it. And using that knowledge to attack others does not make you rational. It just makes you arrogant. Now think about the people who are actually rational. The ones who genuinely think clearly. They do not spend their time pointing out everyone else's biases. They spend their time checking their own. They ask themselves the hard questions. They challenge their own beliefs. They look for evidence that contradicts them. They assume they might be wrong, not because they are weak, but because they understand that rationality requires humility. And humility is what misapplied rationality destroys. This means learning about biases is not enough. It is actually dangerous if you use it wrong. Because knowledge without self-application is just ammunition. You use it to tear down others while building yourself up. You use it to feel superior while staying ignorant. You use it to avoid the hard work of examining your own thinking. And that is the opposite of what rationality is supposed to do. Rationality is supposed to make you question yourself first, not others, but misapplied rationality flips that. It makes you question everyone except yourself. So here's what you need to understand. If you know about biases but you only see them in other people, you are not being rational. You are being hypocritical. If you use your knowledge to win arguments instead of to find truth, you are not being logical. You are being manipulative. If you feel smarter than everyone else because you know the names of fallacies, you are not wise. You are deluded. Real rationality is not a weapon. It is a mirror. It is not about proving others wrong. It is about catching yourself being wrong. It is not about labeling people. It is about understanding them, and it is not about feeling superior. It is about staying humble. Because the moment you think you are more rational than everyone else, you prove that you are not. Misapplied rationality tells you that learning about biases makes you less biased. But it does not. It just makes you better at seeing biases in others. And if you stop there, you become the worst kind of thinker. The kind who knows just enough to be dangerous. The kind who uses knowledge as a shield instead of a tool. The kind who thinks they are rational while being completely blind to their own errors. Stop using rationality to judge others. Start using it to judge yourself. Stop pointing out biases in everyone else. Start looking for them in your own thinking. Stop feeling smart because you know the labels. Start feeling humble because you know how easy it is to be wrong. That is what real rationality looks like. Not superiority, humility, not judgment, curiosity, not certainty, doubt. And if you cannot turn your rational lens on yourself, then all your knowledge is useless. It is just making you worse. More arrogant, more closed-minded, more insufferable. And that is the irony. You learned about biases to become smarter. But you ended up becoming exactly what you were trying to avoid. Irrational, just with better vocabulary. Watch the next video to see how your brain keeps tricking you even when you think you are too smart to be fooled.